Carson. I now call on Colette Stevenson to speak on behalf of the Social Justice and Social Security Committee. Around 4 minutes, Ms Stevenson.
Okay, thank you, Presiding Officer. And as the convener of the Social Justice and Social Security Committee, I am pleased to contribute to the Finance and Public Audit Committee's debate on the Scottish Government's proposed revised national outcomes. The committee welcomed the opportunity to participate in the scrutiny process, and we are grateful to the Finance Committee for undertaking the consultation. This information, coupled with the evidence we have gathered through our work on reducing poverty, informed our letter to the Scottish Government. The committee thanks the Cabinet Secretary for her response and appreciates the Scottish Government's recognition of the interconnected nature of the outcomes and their relationship to poverty. We are also pleased to hear the Scottish Government acknowledges the leadership role it should play in ensuring countrywide adoption of the National Performance Framework. The outcome to reduce poverty is of central concern to the committee, and it considered this alongside several other outcomes that rely on poverty reduction to be achieved. We wrote to the Cabinet Secretary on this basis, highlighting how the national outcomes of care, housing, communities and equalities and human rights are intrinsically linked to the goal to reduce poverty. The committee explained the link between poverty and care by drawing on the research it commissioned in 2023, which found disabled households were more vulnerable to rising energy and food prices, and that disability payments were not able to meet additional costs. The committee was also recently involved in Part 5 of the Housing Scotland Bill on homelessness prevention, and as part of this we heard from Crisis, who said, "Homelessness is one of the most acute forms of poverty. In order to end homelessness and achieve housing as an outcome, it is therefore clear poverty must be addressed." We also considered that the work of the third sector is essential to fulfilment of the national outcomes, especially the outcome on communities. And as part of the committee's pre-budget scrutiny this year, we heard from stakeholders across the third sector who made it clear they need more certainty when it comes to their budgets. They emphasised insecure funding can mean insecure service delivery, which affects vulnerable people within communities, as well as eroding trust and cohesion. Equalities and human rights as an outcome also requires poverty to be reduced, and we were struck by evidence provided to the committee from the Scottish Human Rights Commission, which said poverty represents a failure, a violation to fulfil the right to an adequate standard of living, as is established in international human rights law. Poverty viewed through this lens is thus best viewed as a cluster of human rights violations in Scotland. As well as detailing the cross-cutting nature of the national outcomes, our letter to the Cabinet Secretary also stated that if poverty is to be reduced, it is crucial that the outcomes influence decision-making when it comes to the Scottish Budget and programme for government. Scottish Women's Aid has previously said that given the outcomes should demonstrate societal values, the budget should look at how it spends on these. Going forward, it is essential it is recognised that the national outcomes will not be achieved unless poverty can be reduced. The Scottish Government must act to ensure poverty reduction informs all areas of policy and budgetary planning, and that the needs of younger people living alone, disabled people and older people are captured alongside priority groups. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms Stevenson.